Okay, today we're going to work on two transformations at the same time. I sort of talked about this yesterday. We'll get started with problem number 9. And it is 3 sine 1/2 x. Okay, and we will be doing this in degrees over a window of negative 360. To 720. Okay, yesterday we talked, 2 days ago, we talked about this number. That's an amplitude change. That's going to make it bigger up and down. This changes the period. And we talked yesterday about a formula, 360 over b. b is that number, 360 divided by 1/2. Now, if you divide 360 by 1/2, you can do this by calculator. That is 720 degrees. I said yesterday that we will write these numbers down. Half of that is 360. That's a half cycle. And a quarter of that, or a quarter cycle, is a half of this number, which is 180 degrees. We need these as we graph. Okay, every tick mark is going to be at 180 degrees. Okay, so we're going to set up negative 360. That's 2 to the left, and this will be 4 to the right. Okay. Okay, so if we go, say 2 tick marks there, 1, 2, 3, 4, that'll give us negative 360 this way, 720 to the other side. This number being 3, that means we're going to go up as high as 3 above and as low as 3 below. Okay, recall that the parent graph of the sine looks like this. And the important thing to remember with the sine is it goes through the origin on the way up. That's the critical point. Well, that doesn't get dilated in any way, so that stays right where it was. So that will stay at 0, 0. Okay, we're going to go up 3 and down 3, and that's going to happen at the quarter cycle. Okay, so this is a quarter cycle. That's 180 degrees, so this point will be 180, 3. Another 180, that gives me 360, 0. Another 180, that is 540, and we're down at negative 3. And another 180 gives me 720, back to 0. To the left of the y-axis, sine graph is down here, quarter cycle. That's 180 degrees, so this is 180, negative 180, I should say, negative 3. And this value is negative 360, 0. Okay, smooth curve. Oops, make that a little bit bigger, make sure. Okay, now we check my grapher. First thing you do when you're checking by grapher, check the mode, make sure you're in the right mode. We will graph 3 sine 1/2 x. And window, negative 360, 720. Tick marks every 180. Quarter cycle. Okay, y min negative 4 to 4. Let's stretch that out a little bit. Let's make that negative 6 to positive 6 by 1. All right, here we go. All right, looking good. That's what you call checking by grapher. Wait for it to finish up. We'll test a couple values. 180, 3, 540, negative 3. Perfect. Okay. Next problem, number 13. Okay, number 13 is a little bit different. negative 3 sine 2 pi x. This is obviously a radian-based problem. Okay, the window here is negative 1/2 to 2. Okay, I said we will find the period. Well, first of all, this is amplitude of 3, but that negative sign means it's going to be reflected over the x-axis. We did that the other day. When you multiply, it reflects it over the x-axis. Okay, the period we find not by 360 divided by b, but 2 pi divided by b, since this is a radian-based problem. Well, that's 2 pi over 2 pi. Well, that makes it pretty easy. So that makes the period 1. Well, then a half a cycle is 1/2, and a quarter cycle is half of that, or a quarter of a unit. Okay, we're going to make tick mark every half, or every quarter cycle. Left is negative 1/2, so that is 2 of these tick marks. Right, that will be 8 of these tick marks. That's a little excessive, I'd have to say. So let's cut that back. We'll make this 3 halves. Okay. Okay, see, we want 2 this way. That gives me the negative 1/2. And then I'm going to want 6 this way. Well, you can just count by a quarter. Quarter, half, 3/4, 1, 1 1/4, 1 1/2, 3 halves. Okay. All right, remember 0, 0. I multiply that by negative 3, it doesn't go anywhere. Okay. However, at this point, recall, on the radian was pi over 2, comma 1. That was a quarter cycle. Now, at a quarter cycle, we're going to multiply by negative 3. So, in a quarter cycle, this one's going to be negative 3 times 1. So, this point will be 1/4, comma, negative 3. Quarter cycle back here. That's 1/2, comma 0. Quarter cycle. Three quarters, comma, positive 3. That'll be 1, 0. Quarter cycle. Okay, so that's 1 1/4. We prefer improper fractions. 5/4, negative 3, and then this point is 3 halves, 0. Okay, to the left. Now note, on the sine graph, to the left of the y-axis, I should say, this is a negative, but we're going to multiply that, which you know, this is negative pi over 2, comma, negative 1. Now that's a quarter cycle. We're dealing with that, but this negative 1 gets multiplied by negative 3. That makes it a positive 3. That puts it right there. So that point is negative 1/4, positive 3. Now the quarter cycle, back to the inflection point, negative 1/2, 0. Okay. Smooth curve. I'm going to slide that up. It should be on screen. Okay, first thing we do, change mode, because this is a radian-based problem. Okay, so this is going to be negative 3 sine 2 pi x. Okay, window, negative 1/2. We can use 0.5 to 3 halves, which is 1.5. And we're going to have our tick marks every quarter, 0.25. You could put 1/4 in there. Okay, negative 6 to 6 seems good enough to me. Let's graph. Okay, this is looking good. And as it finishes, we'll put a trace on and type a couple of points. Let's try 3/4. Positive 3, that's good. Let's try this one down here. 5/4. Perfect. Okay. Now let's move to cosine. All right. Next problem is number 37. 37 is y 4 cosine 2 pi x. All right, I'm just checking my notes here. Sorry about that. Okay, now this one is going to go from, we use the same window as the last one, -1/2 to +3/2. Actually, I have my notes here that says this one's going to go from -1 will go on this one. We'll go to +1. We'll go equal amounts on either side. All right. Again, this is going to be a radian-based problem. 2 pi divided by 2 pi. Remember that the formula is always this number divided by 2 pi. Now, the 2 pi is always on the bottom. 2 pi divided by b. Maybe I should write that in there so we know. 2 pi divided by b, well, b is 2 pi. 2 pi over 2 pi, which is 1. That means half cycle of 1/2, quarter cycle of 1/4. We saw that before. Okay, well, the cosine, here's the parent graph. Looks like this. Now you can get your parent graphs out and look at them. Cosine critical point is 0, 1. And it has a cycle length of 2 pi. Those are critical points on the cosine graph. You have, I don't have to draw them in every time. All right, now this one we're going equal parts, equal amounts on both sides. So I'm going to center my y-axis this time. All right. And tick marks at a quarter, so we're going to go 4 to the left and 4 to the right. Now, the amplitude is this time 4, so we're going to go 4 up and 4 down. Okay, now the critical point on the cosine is at 0, 1. That's the high point, though. Instead of thinking of it as 0, 1, we think of it as the high point. Now, the high point gets dilated by a factor of 4. So this high point, we're not going to plot 0, 1, we're going to plot 0, 4, because it has been dilated by that amplitude that's stretched. Sometimes that word's used. Okay, quarter cycles. 1/4 of a unit, quarter cycle to the inflection point. Quarter cycle, that's 1/2, -4. Quarter cycle, 3/4, 0. Quarter cycle, 1, 4. Okay, this way. Back down to the inflection point. -1/4, 0. Quarter cycle, low point. -1/2, -4. Quarter cycle, -3/4, 0. And another quarter cycle right here. This point is -1, 4. Okay, smooth curve. Okay, like a giant W. All right, check my graph. Okay, we are still in radian mode. Double check. Okay. Okay, we want 4 cosine 2 pi x. Window -1, 1 by 0.25s. Let's check it out. Looks like that giant W that we want. Okay. Try a couple values. Let's try, put the trace on. Let's try 1. Perfect. Let's try 0.25. All right, everything is good. How about -1/2? -4. Excellent. Okay, last problem is 39. Problem number 39. Y is equal to negative 4 cosine 1/2 x. Okay, this will be a degree problem. Should have written that just a little bit lower. And we will go from negative 180 to positive 2, or no, we're going to go from negative 180 to positive 720. Okay. First of all, we find the period, which is 360 divided by 1/2. Now, you can always do 360 divided by 1/2 by calculator. If you're not comfortable dividing by fractions, that's 720 degrees. Half cycle, 360. Quarter cycle, 180. All right. Negative 180, that's only one tick mark on the left. Okay, so one tick mark, and we're going to need 4 on the right. Okay. Since it's cosine starts at a high point. It's going to be dilated by negative 4, though. So that 1 is getting multiplied by negative 4. So this will start at negative 0, negative 4. Okay, then it's just nothing but quarter cycles. I'm going to go 4 up, too. Extend that just a bit. Okay. 180, 0. That point is 364. Add 180, that's 540, 0. Add 180, that makes it 720, negative 4. Okay. Then on this side, a quarter cycle puts us right there. That point is negative 180, 0. Okay. Okay, so that's what we should see. Move this up a bit. Again, first thing you do is make sure I'm in frame here. Check your mode. In this case, this is going to be a degree, so we're going to change that back to degrees. Negative 4 cosine. We can use 0.5 here because 1/2 is a terminating decimal, so 0.5 x. Window, negative 180 to positive 720 with 180 degree tick marks. Negative 66 seems reasonable. There it goes. All right, that is looking good. Exactly the way we planned it out. Let's trace one, 360. Okay. All right, here is your assignment. Now this one will be a 2-day assignment. There are 4 problems. Now, put some time into these. Make these nice graphs. You see how big I'm making them. You know, you should be able to do 2 on one side of a paper, and they should be good-looking graphs. Okay. You have time to do this, and you have plenty of time. Okay, you got number 10. That will be a degree problem. And from negative 720 to 1440. Now those, don't be afraid of those big numbers. Here, because that period's going to get dilated. All right, so we got number 14. And that one is going to be a radian problem. You're going to go negative 2 to positive 2. Okay, then you have number 37, or pardon me, 38, the even problem. Okay, that one is going to be a radian problem. And you're going to go negative 1 to 1. And your also going to do number 40. That's going to be a degree problem. And this one you're going to go from negative 540 to 1080 degrees. Okay, there you go. All right, I will post these notes. Okay, remember, this is going to be a 2-day assignment, so there will be no video tomorrow. I'm sure you're all broken up about that. But you'll have plenty of time to do these assignments. Okay, and remember, I may collect some of these assignments. I have collected a few. Now, a couple of you were behind. I've been sending emails out to those of you who haven't done your assignments. You have to turn them in, and I'm putting a deadline on them because I can't take them forever because I'd have a really hard time of keeping track of all this stuff. So you will, if you got an email, you got to turn it in. Now, a couple of you already missed those deadlines, but there's still plenty of things to hand in for the semester, so nobody's in danger of failing at this point. Okay, I'll talk to you in a couple of days.